And we're back. Our guest travels around the world, to Poland, to Russia, to Israel, to India. Wherever there are Jews to be found, you're going to find our guest, Rev Shlomo Carlebach. He is well known throughout the world, not just for his melodies, but for bringing back thousands of lost Jewish souls to their Jewish roots, shaking them up with his inspirational words and music. Rev Shlomo, getting back to the 60s, and we're looking at some of the interesting aspects of your life. For 10 years, you had what's called a House of Love and Prayer, where people dropped in. Tell us what it was like.
It was so marked Friday night that sometimes people had to come through the window. It was unbelievable. And what our davening Friday night, during the week also people were staying there, maybe 20, 30 people, but Friday night and Saturday night was like, most kids came with sleeping bags or without sleeping bags, and it was just, Friday night the davening was sometimes between 5 and 10 hours. The davening, the dancing, Shabbos morning. Shabbos Shudas never ended before 4 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome, awesome. You know what it is? See, the world is so shallow. I don't want to say anything bad. Let's say the establishment, right? They look at those kids and they're looking for drugs. They're looking for the deepest depths of life. They look absolutely disgusted when they looked at their parents and looked at the whole world how they live. They wanted something more, so much deeper, so much more beautiful. I mean, the way they listen to Torahs, to Chassidus, to depths, like awesome, awesome, awesome. And we didn't do enough. I don't want to say again, the Tshuva movement began. You know when it began?
When? The
moment we came back to Yerushalayim, to the Holy Wall. The Holy Wall is the most magnetic place in the world, right? But the so-called, the money-making Tshuva movement only began 78, 79, 80, right, a little bit later.
How do you attribute the fact?
You know why? But it is because the saddest thing is, when I was still in the House of Love and Prayer, when I would talk to those big people, Gedolim, so to speak, they need new yeshivas about the Tshuvas, they would laugh in my face. We lost, those 10 years we lost completely. We could have had thousands of kids, But anyway, the few Baruch Hashem who made it, and maybe I had a little bit of a hand in some of them.
Shlomo, you were, aside from being the father of Jewish music, also, as you mentioned, the Tshuva movement, people who've returned to their Jewish roots. How do you attribute the success of you, one individual, igniting a spark among thousands of people when there are paid professionals today that can't seem to ignite the same kind of spirit that you did, a one-man operation?
I'll tell you 2 reasons. First of all, my old Torah is like this. If you stand next to a refrigerator, you get cold. If you stand next to an oven, you get warm, right? The second thing is, what really hurts me sometimes? I talk to those professional outreach, kirov, professionals. I'm sure it's beautiful, I'm not knocking it. But you know what's hurting me? If you were to ask me, do you really know how to bring somebody back to Yiddishkeit? I'll tell you what, I don't have the faintest idea. I don't have the faintest idea. The only thing is when it happens, I hope and I pray and I cry that God will give me the right words. I don't know it.
But you're...
Anything if you know before, this is good if you're a cook, you want to make soup, you know before to make the soup. When it comes to dealing with life as people, don't tell me you know before. And if you know before, so it doesn't go. Someone listen to those so-called, I don't want to knock them, they're sweet, but turns me off completely. And the fact is they don't reach the deepest depths because they know already preconceived notion. When I meet someone who doesn't keep Shabbos, I give them the spook and tell them, do this, don't do this. It's all nonsense. It doesn't reach inside. You know what it is? The fact is that the people they talk to, they retain maybe 10%. I'm giving them the benefit of 10%. They don't. And you know what it is? Like, I have had the privilege of meeting so many people in the deepest depths, and the problem always was, I had nowhere to send them. Because after they were turned up to the deepest depths, they would always be disappointed after that. I remember one time at the Holy Wall, I met one boy who I turned on in Australia. He was crying. He says, you know what you told me? It was all a lie. You told me that people who keep Shabbos, that people Chassidim, they are so holy, they're so beautiful. I'm now in Israel. It's not true. Some of them are, but it's not always true. He says, I thought when I come here, I'm coming back to paradise. I mean, it's haunting me, what he said to me. And you see what it is? It's not only that the non-religious people have to do tshuva. The real tshuva has to be done by the religious people. You have to change. You have to so much more fire, so much more love. Okay, it's getting better a little bit, but if I look back historically, you know, when I think to myself how much energy the rabbis put in to have glad kosher meat, Cholot Yisrael, if they would have put in 10% of this to reach, but really reaching the deepest depths. You know, take in Israel. You know, when someone says to me, there are a lot of non-religious people in Israel, it's a lie. They're not non-religious. Nobody has reached them yet. And they're open in the deepest way. I've not met yet an Israeli who is not open for the deepest thing in the world.
So when we come back, I want to get back to that, and also how the establishment has worked with you or not worked with you over the years. You've brought back single-handedly many people to their Jewish roots, people searching, especially the 60s was a turbulent time, and the 70s and 80s and 90s is not much better, even though it manifests itself in different ways.
What's wrong with 2000, brother?
Coming up. We're going to be right back with some more words, some more thoughts from our guest, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, known throughout the world for his music, for his insights, his thoughts, and his stories. We'll be right back after this. Our guest, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, for over 30 years entertaining people throughout the world at concerts and weddings, travels all over to bring back people, to bring them the message of music, and music conveys quite a bit. You know, in the 60s, we were talking about, Shlomo, a period of time where there was a revolution going on in the hearts and minds of many in this country. The House of Love and Prayer that you began was thriving. You know, you also compose songs on the spot. One of the songs, I believe is from the period, is an English song called Lord Get Me High. Perhaps you can tell us about that.
This is a very special song, 1968. You know, all those revolutions going on the college campuses. And there was one boy, his name was George Cohen. Yeah, I think it was George. I know George, I think it was Cohen. He was one of the head who were leading this revolution at San Francisco State. And one day he was arrested for singing an obscene song. Then he came to the police. he was singing S.O.A.N.I., mein Ding. And it was heartbreaking, you know, what was his name, the director of the college, he's, whatever, Hakor or something. How come you don't even hear what is Hebrew, you know? You're the head of the college.
No, they thought the song was obscene, but it was a Hebrew song.
It was a Hebrew song, S.O.A.N.I., you know? Anyway, then he got married, and since he was already so famous in all the newspapers, there was this crazy story. So Life magazine came to film the wedding. It was unbelievable. And, you know, it was a different energy. The wedding began 4 in the afternoon. And, you know, Golden Gate Park, you have to leave at 12, the latest. And we were still in the middle of Shir Brochus. So you know what we did? There was a truck. We put Chosn and Kalle, and some were holding the chuppah over them on the truck.
Moved from the wedding hall to the truck.
And we were not from the wedding hall, it was in Golden Gate Park. Went back to the house of love and prayer. And anyway, this boy George was really a master of words. And I made up a lot of nigunim at that wedding, which I don't even remember, but this is one of them. I said, George, give me some good words. He started singing, Lord, get me high, get me high, get me high. Lord, get me high, get me higher. Higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. Then I added some words to it. Lord, let me meet just one friend. Lord, let me meet just one friend. Then another, Lord, let me pray just one prayer. And so on, you know. And the end was, Lord, let me live till the great day comes, when the whole world will sing just one song. Higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. Was my big song for many years. Higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher and higher. But then I was singing, yours is all I hear, like oh yeah, soil for song, color, we have a good wedding song. La 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 la
Beautiful. Our guest, the singing rabbi, Rav Shlomo Carlebach, known throughout the world. His beautiful original music, copied by many, never duplicated. We'll be right back.
ben Yishai Meshichecho
Welcome back. Our guest, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach's music has inspired Jew and non-Jew alike throughout the world, brought back so many people to their Jewish roots, their Jewish soul. Shlomo, how is it that you've brought back so many people, but yet the Jewish establishment, religious, non-religious Jewish establishment, has not supported you?
You know, I'll tell you something, this is one of the saddest things in my life, you know? You know how many people I asked? I shouldn't give up on people, you know, you're not permitted. But yet, you know, the finally Federation decided to give us, for half a year, the rent House of Love and Prayer. And after half a year, they canceled.
Why?
They canceled, it's too ridiculous even to mention. You know how many people came to us on Shabbos? Hundreds. The president of the Federation passed by Sunday morning, and he saw a lot of garbage outside the house, because there were hundreds of kids Shabbos. So then I was called to the Federation, and they said, why was there so much garbage out on Sunday morning? I said, you know why? Because I invited hundreds of kids for Shabbos. But you is no garbage on Sunday morning, because you don't invite anybody for Shabbos, and you don't even keep Shabbos. You are the master of a Jewish money. You didn't give a damn about Jewish kids roaming the streets. You know what was the most important thing is? At that time, every religion had little House of Love and Prayer. They took care of their kids. I'll tell you an unbelievable story. I'm coming to a university, and again, I don't want to say anything too bad. You know, how many kids does Hillel attract, right? Because, see, Hillel is not catering to the young people. They're catering to the parents who give a few rubles. They take a rabbi who looks like the mother or the father would like, right? So nobody comes. I'm coming to Hillel one night, and there were 30, 40 kids. I get a call from the Episcopalian minister. He said, I want you to know, I'm your friend, I have your records, and I know who you are. I know your heart is aching for your Jewish brothers and sisters. He says, you know where they are? They're in my church. Can you stay overnight and come tomorrow night to my church and make sure they all are there? There were 2,000 kids there, and at least 1,500 Jewish. And you know what's so heartbreaking? The church, they support people like this who are doing something. Anyway, the greatest miracle is that we held out. We held out for 10 years, but then, you know, everything was happening in Israel. And San Francisco was also not the Mecca or the Jerusalem of the world. So now we have
you
more
shifted to Israel.
Yeah.
One quick question before we break, Shlomo. How is it that you never copyrighted your music? You could have been a very rich man.
It's copyright. I should take everyone to court.
People have just taken your music.
Just taking, not only they're taking it, they don't even mention my name. You know, it's
Are you bitter at them, at the establishment?
I tell you what, if I say I'm not bitter, I'll be lying, but you see, I don't want to waste my time being bitter. But it's a little bit heartbreaking, you know? I'll tell you something, you know how many gatherings, how many people talk about the tshuva movement? Do you know, in my whole life I was never invited to one.
Even though
I'm
you
sure,
were
let's assume it's 50% my fault, but also 50% not right, you know? You know, let's imagine everybody wants to cure cancer. Imagine someone says, I have a cure. And what can you do? That's what it is.
So when we come back, I want you to sing some medley. We'll talk about Poland, India, some of the exotic places you've been to, and we'll hear some of your favorite melodies after the following messages. Stay tuned. We're back. Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach traveled throughout the world, singer, folk singer, rabbi, spiritual leader. Rabbi Carlebach, going back to some of your trips, you've inspired people. I went up with you to the Unification Church.
Wow, was that beautiful.
It was really something how you inspired people who have been brainwashed to another religion. But perhaps you can tell us about that, some of your exotic trips. You've gone to Poland, to the Soviet Union, to India.
I'll tell you very fast about India. There was I'm not sure, 83 or 84, was a big conference in Bombay, East and West, religion and science. And it was organized by the followers of Baba Muktananda, which are 90% Jewish. And the woman who organized it was, she is a real Jew hater. She says that Jewish people have nothing to add, so she didn't even want to invite some Jews. Every religion was there. Anyway, to make it long, finally David Zeller, if you remember David Zeller, was invited, Zalman Schachter and Humble Me. And we are the only religious leaders had to pay our own way. And we had to pay even admission there. But anyway,
and you were performing.
And perform. Anyway, the performance was not from this world. Zalman Schachter was a Gewalt, and David Zeller, and then Humble Me. And when I got on stage, I said, friends, you know, I so privileged to be in India. There's so much holiness here, so much religion, so much godliness. But right now I'm standing before you as a Jew. And I want you to know I'm a Jew. I'm a disgusting Jew from all four sides. I'm a real Jew standing before you. And I want to share with you what Yiddishkeit is all about. And the next day, this bitter woman, you know, who never spoke to me even while I was already in India, she would say, hello. She came up to me and she hugged me. She was crying. I said, what happened? She said, I want you to know, yesterday when you said about yourself, I'm a disgusting Jew from all four sides, I couldn't help looking at myself. I said, who am I fooling? Who am I fooling? I'm not a Hindu, I'm not a Buddhist, I'm a Yid.
What was Poland like?
Do you know that she went to Israel, went to Neve Yerushalayim, and she's now a full woman, unbelievable. Poland, I want you to know this was awesome. It was organized by Nachman Elbaum and Chatzke Lebesser. It was really, I hope they'll have enough guts to send me back, by the Lauder Foundation. You know what it is? Everybody says Poland is full of anti-Semitism. So Mazel Tov, so good. So do something about it. So everybody goes to the graves, the Auschwitz comes back and says it's terrible, nothing happens. I want you to know it's a privilege arriving in Poland, and the whole nation greeted us. Thousands of people. And wherever I went, I just told them one thing. Rab Nachman says, if you believe that you can destroy, why don't you also believe you can rebuild? It says the destruction of the world began here, in the most awesome way. It has to begin here. We have to open the gates of love and peace. And I want you to know, at all those concerts with thousands of people, obviously non-Jews, a few Jews, but mostly non-Jews, it was like after Mashiach had come. That's one part of the thing. The second part is that, you know, there are thousands of young people in Poland whose parents, they're given away as babies to non-Jews, and they never come out of the hole. When we were there, hundreds came out and said, my mother was Jewish, my father was Jewish, my brother was Jewish. And I wish I could go back and collect them. We have hundreds of names, and we're still in touch with them. And then Russia was unbelievable. 89, Stuart Wax and Yoram, two unbelievable young people, organized an unbelievable trip to Russia. 21 concerts.
Wow.
And we played for approximately 55,000 people.
Some we have about a couple moments again. We're coming to the end. A couple of your favorite songs, including Schwarzer Wolf, one of my favorites.
Schwarzer Wolf will take too long. Schwarzer Wolf is actually a story of someone who gave up on having children, and then the Kodesh Magi told him, the Lamed of Tzaddik, the Schwarzer Wolf, he invites you for Shabbos, he can bless you. But the whole Shabbos passed, He didn't invite him. And then he looks out, it's 3 stars, Shabbos is over. Then suddenly he realized the Schwarze Wolf is the only one who can bless me with Shabbos. Isn't there one God? Like never before, began praying, and he said, Master of the world, please give me children. At that moment, the Schwarze Wolf came in and invited him for Shabbos. And I want you to know, I'm traveling all over the world, and there's so many people tell me, because of that story, we didn't give up. We have children. I was in Stockholm a few years ago, and a couple came up to me and she said, you know, 20 years, we had no children. We got your tape, and we began praying again. Now we have 2 children. Unbelievable.
Beautiful music from our guest, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach. We'll be right back with some closing remarks from our very, very special guest after these brief messages. World-famous Shlomo Carlebach, rabbi, folk singer, has been our guest. Shlomo, in the last remaining moment, your prescription for peace among Jews.
Among the world, see, if I would be the chief rabbi of Israel, I would make it a criminal offense to pass by a Jew without kissing, without hugging him. I would make it a criminal offense if we Jews walk on the street without absolutely greeting every human being. Because if we want to bring peace in the world, we have to be a nation of peace and of love. You know, if I would be the chief rabbi of Israel, I would say any father or mother who hits a child has to be arrested. Because if you have no compassion with your children, why should the world have compassion with us? If I would be the chief rabbi of Israel, I would invite all the Reform rabbis, all the conservative rabbis, all the Orthodox rabbis. And we would spend one whole day by the Holy Wall, mamish, fasting and crying, begging her, please, put it in our hearts we should make peace between each other. Because what do we want? We don't have to fight each other. We want God to give us a sign what the truth is. And today, you know what it is? As bad as it looks sometimes, the world is getting so much better every second. People are so open to each other. It is unbelievable. You know, I see the world, Russia, Poland, India, Germany, Sweden, Sydney, Australia. You can walk up to every person in the world and become their best friend. Okay,
we're going to close out. Thank you, the great Shlomo Carlebach, known throughout the world for his melodies, bringing people back. And we thank you for watching. We're going to close out with Shlomo playing Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, where our hearts turn to in our daily prayers. And we look forward to speaking with you again. And thank you again, the great Shlomo Carlebach. Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim.